affects nothing. In other words, everything that incides on the sun is absorbed. But the only thing that can incide on the sun is the purple. There we go. Very, very high probability of that atomic fission not stopping. In other words, we just continue. So with that in mind, these guys still went for the bomb. So you should have stopped way before that. If you're going to do the right thing, that would be the right thing. But it's like you said with 5G. I mean, in my past life, I've been dedicated to get as close to 5G as possible. You know, I mean, I'm talking about fire control. I mean, that was my métier. That was what I did. Was establish these control.
Testing.
Fire control.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Anyway.
It's okay. You can ramble. I'm just.
Yeah, because you see, you have to see that when we're talking about 5G, you and I, for instance, it's a different 5G we're talking about. You know, 5G from where you are is something potentially not good. Whereas for me, 5G has always been a desirable thing. You know, I would like to drive a car on the moon directly. You know, in other words, it's not good for me to have a lag between now and let's say 8 seconds from now.
Right.
Because well, I can't get control if things are that delicate.
Do you really want to, drive a car on the moon?
No. What I'm trying to say is the possibility of transmitting that, let's say, telemetry. Test failed. Yeah. I don't know what the problem is.
Wow. Let me try this again. Delete. And then we'll just try that again.
What's probably going to be necessary is to have another rolling.
Yeah, well, give me a second. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Hello? That's also coming out.
Can you hear us?
Well, that should. It should. Yeah, it should come out of there.
Yeah, but for this, you know, wouldn't it be well, unless we put the speakers further out, because otherwise the sound of the music and the sound of the audio is all in the same, and you can't hear anything.
Ah, okay.
So, well, actually, here's an idea. Well, no, because the thing is,
What if you put it inside the cabinet?
well, it won't reach that far. Yeah, I've only got a limited, you know.
Isn't there some possibility of extending that? You know, putting in an extension?
No, I don't think so. But that goes there. All of this. We can try that again. Okay, so let's do it with the music.
You could put the music down lower. The music could be just suggested. Could be very low. Now try it. Now try that.
Let's see, you got your music. Audio. So obviously you're gonna be doing most of the talking. What's the best place? Like here?
Probably, try it out and see.
Okay.
Maybe we should just get rid of that
Xbox.
Wi-Fi, the Xbox, yeah.
Okay.
That's better, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that. Well, we were talking about ghosts and people. There's one thing that people will never understand is what ghost is all about. And people are afraid of ghosts mainly because they haven't got the faintest clue what ghost is. Ghost is that entity that appears when a person is completely aced, when a person has absolutely no clue, no breath, no nothing. A person is just in awe, breathless. And then this entity appears. This entity is the ghost. And the ghost is basically something that has always been and, well, just is. There's the only thing that can go through the sun is the purple. And the purple is exactly what the slow glow is. In other words, now that people live in fear of the big flash is when the slow glow is more important than ever before. And the slow glow is actually the ghost. That's what the candle that burns there is about, you know, is a kind of a acknowledgement and a reward for, and a reminder of ghost. Ghost is real, and ghost can't die. Therefore, a person is basically just a suit of clothes that we wear a certain time and then take off. And what happened to the person? Well, hey, the person got hung up for some other day. It's just a suit of clothes, you know. Only the ghost is can't die, you know. And anyway, then we went on to talk about the importance of people like Oppenheimer, Heisenberg, the people that, well, you know, they were like dicing with fate. Nobody knew that the process of fission wouldn't just continue forever, which maybe it has. Maybe what we're living now is just the consequences of that first step into the destruction of worlds. And well, they did give us one very important clue. That's called the equations of error. The more you organize something, the more it tends to dysfunction. And this tendency to dysfunction is what we're fondly calling Tamaguchi. In other words, we got a whole lot of problems in the world nowadays, but hey, rely on the fact that Tamaguchi is Tamaguchi. And that means that the best laid plans of all these supposed controllers of the world are all ultimately going to be confounded by Tamaguchi. I mean, Heisenberg already told us about it. He said, hey, you can't organize anything absolutely. The moment you try, it spontaneously disorganizes, which is what Tamaguchi is all about. So there you go. Anyway, here we go. Now, for more specific inquiries,
It's not bad. It's a little bit like just from what you just said.
All ultimately going to be confounded by Tamaguchi. I mean, you said, hey, you can't organize anything absolutely. The moment you try, it spontaneously disorganizes, which is what Tamaguchi is all about. So there you go.
The quality is a little bit like
ultimately going to be. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, if people want to listen, they're going to listen. I mean, and the thing is, it does have rhythm. You can't organize anything absolutely. The moment you try, it spontaneously disorganizes, which is what the language is all about. And that basically is all that's necessary. I mean, that I appear, that I be wise, all of that is not important. What is important is the fact that you're constantly reminding people of things that ultimately are fundamental.
right.
And that's what people need to know right now. I mean, hey, if you don't have ground under your feet, you can't actually even think of doing anything. You know, if you're on a sliding, if you're on the ice, for instance, and you don't have proper iron, hey, you're completely, your body is not prepared to do anything at all except just be. Yeah. In other words, you can't actually even consider other options. So what people most need right now is a bit of solid ground that they can actually firm their stand on, you know. If you can't firm your stand, hey, you actually can't think of doing anything because, your feet are sliding under you. You haven't got proper ground. So anyway, what is it ultimately important is to keep rolling on, you know. There's another rolling, another one. Because, after all, you know that on the field itself, I only smoke one time, and what happens is, you know, they put so many traces in every, maybe 50, maybe 10, maybe 100 rounds, so that you see these things kind of arching through the sky, and they come so slowly and so beautifully, but hey, that's one in every 100 rounds, you know. So the other 99, they're thudding all around you, you know, and if you're not aware of that, it's really bad news, you know. You should have at least a couple of big trees between you and them, you know. And that's the difference between someone that actually comes back. Sometimes they come back, but they're a monster. So hey, basically what happened is you lost. Yeah. The trick is to actually come back and not be a monster, but to come back. You can ask yourself what decides. It's like, remember I talked about that one time on the frontier. There's this ghost come up, you know, a jinn, and he says, hey, who actually is here, you or me? Yeah. And that was it. My whole foundation disappeared. I was helpless. I didn't know who was who, you know, whether the jinn was me and whether I was the jinn. Well, just put yourself in my situation. I mean, there you are, on, who knows, maybe the utterest frontier, and someone there comes up and challenges you and says, who after all is you and who's me? You know, am I the jinn or are you the jinn? Yeah. I mean, just think about it. What happens to your sense of purpose? You know, when all of a sudden you say, oh, hey, what are you doing pointing that way? You should be pointing that way. Yeah. It's a point to be considered, you know. After all, what ultimately are we about here? We came here for a reason, you know. We are here for a reason. But we is actually this purple glow. Yeah, what's called the slow glow. What's in opposition to the big flash? In other words, there was a time when there were certain of these clowns that thought it was possible to win a war where you were going to actually annihilate everything. But hey, can you be other than a clown and think that that is actually possible? That you are actually going to be able to be victorious? I mean, in fact, you're going to be a clown because a clown is the one that can't consider. I mean, you have to be able to consider the whole thing. If not, I mean, hey, you're a clown. And it's not disrespectful to say that you're a clown, even though you are a king or a president or a dictator or a caudillo. You're still a clown. And there you go. People thought that, oh, you're being disrespectful. But no. I mean, after all, who's me? I'm no man. And hey, no man is an important part of this scenario, you know. After all, whose is no man's land except no man's? So there you go. But anyway,
another one.
that is the fact. I've used that to dispose of all sorts of things. Or how am I going to fix that? That, one moment, I will get it so that it's manageable. One, two. Okay, I got it. Oh,
Yeah.
it's still that and that. But otherwise, that can go. There's no polishing drops, don't worry about them. Yeah, all in all, I can say that I'm pretty content, you know. That I don't think I was dealt any sort of unfairness, you know. All in all, even the people in my life have not ever been, how am I going to say, evilly intentioned. Manners of forethought, I'm pretty sure that people probably did try, you know, trip me up, but hey, my attention was on other things, you know. After all, the harmony of the universe, for me, has always been more important than other things, you know. So that it's I have a kind of a sensation of fairness, you know, that I'm able to judge. And I think that's something that people can recognize. So it's always happened, as I've been that figure that seems to be always in the front of the crowd, and seems to be always pointed out as the guy that's leading the crowd, but that's not ever been the case. I was just on my own way, and the crowd just seemed to be, you know, I just seemed to be leading the crowd. I wasn't, it was just that I was going the same direction. It's just happenstance that I was in front. And the thing is that if they slam the gates right after me, there's only me, you know. And they say, okay, you are the leader of the revolution. I say, no, hang on. That's not what I was about at all. The revolution is your kid, not mine. I mean, what I was doing was my job. My job was just keeping these people alive. Anyway. Yeah, there's one guy tried to get rid of me one time, but he had no choice except take me to the airport. He wasn't able at any moment to stop the trucks and kind of disappear me. So anyway, I can't say I've had a bad life. But you have to remember that the object of this life is to get everything physical and transform it into metaphysical. Because, hey, there's a limit to how much physical you can carry around, but there's none to how much metaphysical. Yeah. So in other words, you should aim for the metaphysical because, hey, like I say, if you master the slow with the low rev, you've got it made. You know, you're gonna be master of that bike no matter what. And you have to be able to ride along the top pole of a fence, for instance, with no problem. In other words, that's how low you have to go in mastery. That's why I say it's important for you to learn this thing of the power ball, because that is the ultimate leverage. Yeah, that's the secret of the jiu-jitsu, for instance. Is how you can get a guy that's even completely outweighs you in everything. But if you get in close, you can get into points of his control system. Like you can get in under the collarbone here, and it just there. Hey, that guy, he can't do anything to stop you because you've got that point. There's a point on the trapezium, there's a point behind the leg. That point, if you get that point, like with the darts here, you should aim for those points. If this exactly in the middle of the thigh, right there, more or less, there's a point that paralyzes your leg. Yeah, and if you can do that to someone in such a way that someone is not sure if actually that was a bulldog size bee that bit him. In other words, he's not going to be able to find the dart. The dart has to be able to hit, deliver, and fall out. Yeah. In other words, when the guy eventually gets his wits about him back, he's not going to be able to find that actually it was a dart and not a huge bee. Yeah. Well, that's the idea of psychological warfare, you know. In other words, the guy's never going to know that it wasn't the tiger that savaged his sentries. He's going to start thinking about, well, he's got to bring the sentries further in. Until finally he says, well, it's tactically intelligent for him to go back down. In other words, to abandon the field altogether. And well, then the job of the tiger man is done. Because the tiger man only had to create the ghost of a tiger. In other words, he didn't have to actually be a tiger at one point. He just had to create a ghost. And well, once the ghost is created, hey, job done. You know, wake up late tomorrow. You get extra breakfast, things like that, you know, the simple things. But anyway,
Interesting stuff that you speak about.
yeah, but hey, there's another thing here. There's these, you know, I'll tell you about those lion's mane, for instance. Well, what the lion's mane does is it introduces an irritant into your system. And so the system, well, it reacts because it doesn't see the irritant as a good thing. So it does everything to actually get rid of it. Yeah. And so you ask, well, what's the use of introducing this irritant? Well, you're mobilizing a system that is going to try and neutralize the irritant. And well, that's what the end objective is that okay, let's think in terms of colonization. So you're walking through the called white man's grave, and well, you gotta go to the south because otherwise you can't get out. Yeah? So you're going, and all the time there's an entity trying to colonize you. You know, she's coming back and back and putting more and more eggs in. And your system is doing all sorts of things to make it possible for you to continue. In other words, it's not really this entity's desire to finish you off. This entity depends for its survival on your survival because it's a colonizer, and there's no sense in allowing you to just die in the desert. So it's got to make sure that you survive the desert, because you got to get to where for this colonizer is paradise. It's a whole lot of new areas to colonize. And so, of course, he's completely interested in making you survive the desert.
So, you know, okay, if you don't have anything else to go on, let me ask you a question. So, obviously, in today's world, medical professionals and practitioners have a certain understanding of the likes of malaria, the likes of all of these different diseases and stuff and cancers. But what is your experience of the likes of malaria?
Look,
if you understand what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, how you see it. Like they see it as, you know, oh, it's really bad. You need to get all these treatments for it, and what. So it's like a they're putting a band-aid over the issue as opposed to looking at the root cause of it.
basically what they're doing is there's such a thing as medical fashion. So they call it schools of thought. But schools of thought, after all, is just controlled thinking. Yeah? When the guy says, we don't want no education, we don't want no mind control, what he's talking about is ultimately that's what it is. Yeah. Because in Greek you have this emis and you have emis. Emis means you, but emis means we. But emis meaning you has a different spelling to emis meaning we. They sound the same. So if you don't read, you're going to think that we're talking about you all the time. But no, we're talking about you and we. We will have a good time. You will work from sunrise to sunset. But you don't read, you see.
So this is the thing about uneducation. This is the thing about.
Yeah, you're apoliti. In other words, you're not educated, but
Is this
to be not educated is also an advantage.
Yeah. But is this the thing to do with how the English language is like constricted? Like it's the English language is a very recent language as opposed to like ancient Greek.
Yeah.
So.
But the English language is refined for a certain purpose.
Exactly. So kind of like a fuck, words are just not coming to me, man.
But hey, the Latin language is refined for a certain purpose. The Arabic language is refined for a certain purpose.
Not a good purpose. Like not for your benefit.
No, there's the idea that these entities, these demagogues, the control guys, the guys that say, no, you got to stick to the book, because they write the book. Yeah, and the book for us has always been anathema. In other words, it's always been unacceptable that the book should be an authority. For us, the book is a mistake. Yeah.
I think my question is that English is a very limiting language. That if all you know is English, then like you are also a very limited person.
Yes.
As opposed to knowing something like ancient Greek or an ancient language, where when you fully embody that language, you actually understand a whole lot more depth and a whole lot more. You're more expanded.
Yeah. If
in the
you're a
sense
child
of understanding,
and all you have around you is ancient Greek, your attention is going to be on much more fundamental things.
So do you think there's a purpose why English is so pushed? Do you think there's a purpose why English is like being globalized?
Well, this is, even the Tuareg, they sing about Anglika. In other words, Anglika is a way of seeing the universe, where even though you can't have what the Tuareg has, you don't want him to have it either. In other words, you're motivated by small things. Your dreams are limited. You're thinking of, well, tomorrow maybe Manchester United will win and I'll be happy. But the truth is that you're completely dedicated to totally insignificant things, irrelevant things. If English is your standpoint, you're extremely limited. If, let's say, your standpoint was maybe Chinese, the whole of Chinese is actually just 7 strokes of a brush. That's the whole of Chinese. Yeah. The whole of what's called katakana of Japanese. It's just 7 strokes of a brush. As opposed to English, which is dependent on the phonetic alphabet, which is actually dependent on a language which doesn't have B's, and doesn't have D's. If you want to say D, you got to say N and T. And if you want to say B, you got to say M and B. Yeah. So I'm going to say, in that language, you can't say, for instance, bullshit, because it's going to be a bullshit. Yeah. In other words, you can't say didn't, because it's going to be didn't. Yeah. So then, of course, your enemy, for instance, when the Romans came and they were in charge of the Greeks, the Romans are completely befuddled because there's no th in Roman, in Latin. There's no th in Latin. So of course, the Romans just listened, but they only heard what they had learned to hear. So they had never learned to hear th and th. So just think of the richness, foolishness that was born of that misunderstanding. I mean, when you look at the whole of the Roman Empire, you got so many laughs that you risk not being able to breathe anymore because you're laughing so much. And well, after all, when they say I could die laughing, that's what you mean. You know, I laughed so much that I forgot to breathe. Anyway, there we go. But no, the truth is that the doctors, they suffer this fashion. But you see, all languages, you see there's so many languages marked by the Romans, for instance. You know, I remember with the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Italian, that the influence that comes from Rome, for instance. I mean, it's huge. I used to see these guys in danger of, you know, choking themselves on their crucifixes because what they were hearing was so threatening to this little thing that they had in their mouth, a little metal thing. And I say, well, fuck, I'd hate to be the cause of this guy choking on his bloody crucifix. But no, there you go. You see, there's antiquity, and then there's new antiquity. With new antiquity is all this Alexander the Great shit. Yeah, that's the new antiquity. Because that is our friend, for instance, what's his name? Aristotle. Aristotelus, the perfect end. Is that what you want to pursue as a philosophy of life? Really? Just between you and me. Isn't that foolish? Of course it's foolish. And so you look at all of this that's happening, what they call the now. I mean, hey, it's a festival of foolishness. I mean, the guys, they're playing around with things that are known to be completely uncontrollable. And these guys are saying, oh, look, I'll kind of set it off. You just watch it. I will set it off first. And fuck. I mean, so, where are we? You know, ultimately, what are we even talking about? But there you go. Anyway, we could check to see what happened, whether it came out good or not.
We can do.
Because that, you see, then you could stream that, you know, on this multiple stream thing that you were talking about. You put it on Instagram and TikTok, and I don't know what else.
I don't have TikTok, but
No, but
But yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
go to all these different, you know, after all, we don't really want, you know, you can ask yourself what the size. Is that, remember I talked about that one time on the frontier, there's this, ghosts come up, you know, they came. And he said, hey, who actually is here? You
right,
or
this
me?"
was just a test run, but
Right.
thank you for
And that
tuning
was
in.
it. No.